the night dreamers talking to you at night. Gary on the radio, but maybe he's not in sight. Bigfoot's on his tail, flying UFOs, that's right. Gary's talk show radio, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday nights. If you need a friend to talk to, he will always be there. The Night Dreamers talk show will fix your despair, because Gary's talking to you at night.
From the great Northwest, deep in the forest shadows, this is Night Dreams Forbidden Realms. And now, here's Gary.
Where is my golf club, JC? I thought you were going to send it to me.
It's in the mail. You should know that already by now.
Well, then we got a problem, because I've been telling you for the last 8 years, your checks are in the mail.
Where do you think I got it from?
I don't know. Tonight we got a great show, don't we? We're going to be talking about comets, asteroids, the 3-Eye Atlas. And, I'm telling you, I am so fed up with so much people on TikTok and podcasts out there that are really pushing that the 3-Eye Atlas is an alien craft coming to attack the Earth.
Yeah, there's boy, it's everywhere, especially on YouTube and all over different platforms. But here's the thing: people are thinking that aliens think like humans do. I don't think they would come in that form, and I don't think they would attack us. Listen, why would they get their hands dirty when they flip a switch?
I know that, but it's ridiculous. But people, if you go on X and all the Blue and all these platforms, people are really believing that the 3-Eye Atlas is an alien craft.
Oh, I know. It's all over. And there's other very well-known people out there, not to say who, but they're kind of promoting it and saying they predicted it and all this and that adds more fuel to the fire.
Well, how about the Buddha sphere?
The what? I didn't hear
Buddha
that one.
sphere.
Oh, yeah.
I having trouble with my false teeth. They're not in solid.
No, I think it was my headset on that one. But anyway, yeah, listen, I still can't find it, but I seen it was they had a side-by-side comparison, and that spear is almost identical to I forget what it come from, some kind of a craft or something, man-made, that looked just like it.
Yeah, it looks like some art piece. It almost looks like it's made out of aluminum or something. This is the thing, but Bob Lazar now is claiming it is real.
Yeah. I see. That's what you get. People that are very well known that are backing that it's this or that, and it's real and all this, and then that these well-known people got a lot of followers over the years, so they're going to jump right on. They believe everything they say without doing their own little research.
And that's the scary part too, And again, how credible is some of these people, making all these weird claims?
Yeah, I always say, no matter what it is or who says what, do your own research. Find out for yourself. Just don't take everything for what people say, because that could lead you down a wrong road. Believe me.
Well, at one point I believed the 3-Eye Atlas was an alien craft for about maybe 20 minutes, and that 20 minutes time, I went on Amazon and bought extension legs for my bed. And the reason why I bought the extension, because, I don't have a bunker, but I can go underneath the bed if anything happens.
Yeah, plus you got that long blanket you like to duck under. Or is that just for shadow people?
I don't know, but I dropped my phone again the other night. My wife got mad because I had to wake her up about 2 o'clock in the morning. Will you get my phone? She goes, get your own phone. I said, I'm not going to put my hand under the bed.
No, because that's the first time something will grab you, and you don't want that.
Well, I was worried about Aunt Bertha, coming back and being under my bed and grabbing my hand and pulling me underneath the bed. And you remember Aunt Bertha, don't you? She used to play the saxophone at the nudist colony. Yeah, and everybody liked how well she blew the saxophone, or blew.
Yeah, and what was her favorite flower?
I think it's tulips.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was. Okay, got
Well,
it.
we're going to have a great show, and we'll take a couple call-ins in the later part of the show, so you can ask Mark a question about the comet or asteroids or, I don't know. course, we all could be wrong. It could be an alien craft. But let's find out some information about our guest.
Yeah.
Marc D'Antonio is a notable astronomer. He's the director of SkyTour LiveStream Observatories, CEO of FX Models, a model-making and special effects company specializing in digital physical models and organic special effects in the film industry. He's also the MUFON, that's the Mutual UFO Network, chief photo-video analyst. Marc D'Antonio will be doing a never-before-seen presentation at this year's Contact in the Desert event, live streaming from a remote observatory in the Arizona desert, where he'll be showcasing amazing objects in the sky.
Well, Mark, welcome back to the show. It's been a while, and have you been staying out of trouble?
Oh, of course not. 3i Atlas has been making us all crazy, right? I mean, this object is special for a very important reason. It's truly interstellar. It came from somewhere beyond our solar system. That's really important. We haven't ever really seen anything before this except the second object that came through called Borisov, which was a comet, interstellar comet, and Oumuamua, which was the first one. So Oumuamua was 1I, with the I meaning interstellar, and the 1 meaning first, right? 2I was Borisov, and 3I is Atlas. And Atlas is the name of the telescope systems that found this particular comet. And yes, I'm calling it a comet because on the scale from 0 to 10, where 10 is alien guaranteed and 0 is definitely non-alien or natural, when it first was seen, I gave it a 4. And as I studied it and looked at it more, and I looked at what it was giving off, I realized, okay, this is the composition that we would expect from a comet, albeit a strange one, because we've never had a comet come through like this before. But it definitely seems to be, for all the hype out there, it seems to be just a comet.
You mean we're not going to be visited by aliens from who knows where?
Well, that's a good point, Gary. If you think about it, if we were to be visited by aliens from other worlds, do you think they would take a slow motion trip through our solar system? They would probably need to go a little bit faster. And one of the lectures that I do around the country, that is one of the more popular ones, is on interdimensional travel. Now, no, this does not stray outside the realm of physics to the point of science fiction. It takes you down a road which says, hey, there's more than we understand out there. And this is just a little bit of a peek into what we may not understand. And we can see how we can go not in just our 4 dimensions, X, Y, and Z moving through time, but into a 5th dimension as well. Now, that's a possibility. And I'm not the only astronomer in the world that talks about this. There's other people. There's other physicists out there talking about it. There's other astrophysicists talking about it. And so I think it's important to understand that there's other ways they can get here. Imagine this. It would take us 10,000 years to get to Alpha Centauri at the fastest possible speed we can currently go. Okay? 10,000 years. However, using this technology that's interdimensional, there is a chance that we could get there in as little as 20 minutes. Sounds odd, but everybody out there, their warning bells are going off saying, oh, but that means we'd have to violate the speed of light. And that's correct. That's what it would mean. But only if we stayed in our 4 dimensions and did that travel within those 4 dimensions, X, Y, and Z moving through time. If we go into a 5th dimension, there's no rules in the 5th dimension. We get a compressed universe the farther in we go. So 12 inches, when you're like far into that compressed universe, 12 inches of travel in there could correspond to 10 million miles when you come out. Because you're going through a compressed universe inside. And when it expands to the full size on the way out, you could have just traveled 10 million miles in a few minutes or a minute or two. So that's the kind of thing that we're aiming for. And what's interesting is it's not just confined to people talking about it, Gary. It's actually CERN overseas, the Large Hadron Collider. They're doing an experiment with the Large Hadron Collider where they're using a detector to detect the very particles I'm telling you are the ones they were looking for. And they're called Kaluza-Klein gravitons or Kaluza-Klein particles. You can look those up online, look up on the CERN website, and you can even read the white paper about them and what the Atlas detector is trying to do. So it's in the mainstream. It's not fringe science. It's actually in the mainstream. That's what makes it so exciting, doesn't it?
It does. You know, when I had Michio Kaku on about 2 years ago, he said we are so close to cracking the next dimension.
Yeah.
And all these things will be possible.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. You're right. And the thing that makes it interesting is that we don't need 10 or 12 dimensions. We just need that one additional one, that fifth dimension, that fifth highly warped dimension where the farther in you go, the smaller the universe becomes around you. So if you go into the middle of that dimension and you travel a small distance, that translates to a massive distance when you come out. And what would someone see if they saw you doing that? They would see you doing things that look like magic to us now. They would literally see you vanish right before their eyes, and you would literally be gone. You could reach out and touch it, and you're not there. And you'd be in that fifth dimension, and then you could pop back into another location. So you go from one X, Y, and Z coordinate at one point in time to a whole nother X, Y, and Z coordinate much further away a moment later. And you would not travel the distance from that first point to the second point. You would just pop out and pop in, because this is how that travel methodology would work. You can pop out and pop in. They don't even need engines on their craft.
No,
they just need to, they just have to pop in and pop out.
You know, you would have a body double multiple times, because if I gathered what he was saying, if we crack the fifth dimension, we would have parallel universes. So they could be multiple me, multiple yous.
Oh, I know. I don't want to meet myself, though. One of me is enough. I can barely tolerate myself, But you're right. There's a lot of ramifications to this. That the whole parallel universe thing, that's something that people claim is real. People talk about ghosts and things like that. How do we know that those aren't parallel universe incursions into our universe? And we're seeing these creatures, people, other things that are a parallel universe visual manifestation of an incursion into our universe, because some of the topologies of how parallel universes are laid out are that they're like onion skins, where they're all together in one thing and they kind of bump up against each other. And as they bump into each other, maybe some of those bumps penetrate into our universe. And if you happen to be at that spot, you can see what's going on for a brief moment. And, oh no, look, a ghost. I'm not saying that two things can't be true at once. They could be, Aunt Gertrude, who had long since passed, but it could also be a different person from a parallel dimension, So the universe is a big, vast place that we literally only know 4% about. Literally, everything we've done is by understanding only 4% of the universe.
That's not very much.
That's not.
I mean, we don't know. I mean, we know more about. I mean, really, we don't really know anything about it. 4% is just nothing. And that's the scary part, too.
It is. It's kind of scary, because for all we've done, all the landings on Mars that went without a hitch, all the specific trajectories that brought us to Pluto and to that Kuiper Belt icy object called Ultima Thule, far past Pluto, that we also visited, for all of that was done with just a rudimentary understanding of the physics of the universe, and with just a rudimentary understanding of the nature of the universe. That's pretty cool. So far.
Yeah, but just here recently, NASA has almost admitted now that they found biological matter that existed on Mars.
Oh yeah, that's correct. There was I actually saw something, because I was following the Curiosity rover really extensively. Every day I'd be in the raw feeds. And on one of the raw feeds, I saw something that looked, for all the world, like a crinoid, which is an ancient stalked plant. All right, and the stalk is segmented, and it's very, very specific. And when the rock abrasion tool on Curiosity was digging and scouring a particular rock that I thought was pretty interesting, it looked like sedimentary rock. All of a sudden, this crinoid stalk showed up. I immediately called friends at JPL and said, "Are you guys looking at this crinoid? I mean, it looks like a crinoid." "Yeah, it does. It looks like very much like a crinoid. Too bad we're going to destroy it." "What?" They said, "Yeah. You see, it takes about, whatever they said, I think at the time, 6 minutes for signals to get to Mars, and they had already given the Curiosity rover the signal to start spinning the rat again and start drilling deeper into the rock." So that thing was available for a few frames taken by Curiosity, and after that, it was passed through and they dug through it. So it was lost. But it looked for all the world like a crinoid, like a segmented plant, and it was just beautiful. I was like, wow, that's a crinoid. I've got one here. I've got one in my fossil collection.
Well, it just tells you that there was life on Mars. And we're not the only planet that had life on it.
That's correct. And there may still be life on Mars. It just might be underground. Look at how tenacious life is on our planet, right? The tenacity of life is legend. And they can live in the hottest environments, the highest pressure environments, the coldest environments. You go into Lake Vostok, a mile or two beneath the ice in Antarctica. Over 3,600 species of life are in that completely isolated world in the dark. And they have all the cycles of life, the carbon cycle and so forth, is all in place there just within the lake. So that's come to some level of stability inside that very deep Antarctic lake. And that's as cold as you can get on Earth. So now, Europa is starting to look good to us because we found life at the deep hydrothermal vents on our planet. And we figured, hey, if there's life there by the way of bacteria and these large, tube worms and clams and crustaceans, well, then maybe there could be life underneath the ice of Europa, because Europa has geysers thought to come from hydrothermal vents under its icy crust. So you know what? You're right, Gary. It's possible that there's deep microscopic organisms under Mars, the South Pole, perhaps, where there's an actual reservoir of water that's been discovered, under the strata. It can't exist on the surface because of the low pressure, but it can exist under pressure from the rocks, and maybe under Europa. And on top of that, maybe under Saturn's moon, Enceladus, and maybe under Ganymede, maybe under Callisto and Jupiter. So there might be life all throughout our solar system, but we just haven't found it yet.
We will, if we exist long enough to become a civilization one, and that's what I don't know if we will make it there.
Yeah, we're about 300 years from Kardashev level 1, which is what you're talking about, level 1 society. And that has to do with the energy usage, right? And we got to be good. We got to be smart. We have to be renewable, no doubt.
And get rid of nuclear weapons.
Yeah, they don't help us, do they?
No, going back to the Atlas.
Yes.
So how long do you think it's going to take before it actually zips past Earth and is gone?
Well, I mean, it's gonna pass a few million miles from Jupiter at the end of December, I think, but it'll be visible. We took a photograph of it with our remote telescopes at SkyTour LiveStream, and we'll be taking more of them in the next couple of days, maybe to a week, because it's out from behind the sun now, and it's visible. But it's in the early morning sky now.
Yeah, but do you see any portals on it with aliens looking out?
Oh, I mean, you took away my thunder. I was going to tell you about the aliens waving at us.
Okay.
No. That's interesting. No, it's gonna pass. When it passes by Earth, it's going to be 720 times the distance to the moon Okay, 170 million miles. So it's not coming close. Nothing to worry about. Our planet is totally safe. However, I will say this. There is an asteroid network out there, an asteroid observation network. Okay. And this asteroid network, because this is the third interstellar object that's moving at high speed through our solar system, they decided that they're going to use the 3i Atlas event as what they're calling a live fire exercise. Set up a communications network, set up protocols for figuring out ways to deal with any potential threats down the line. This one is not a threat. All right. And there are no known threats to our planet right now, actually. So from asteroids all the way to comets. So we're good.
Okay. But a question I have, you just said that, but isn't it possible that a asteroid could still slam on Earth because we still don't have enough, capability to monitor everywhere?
Well, I agree. And right now that's possible. However, the other thing that's happening is there's 4 Atlas installations, 4 Atlas telescopes setups that are in place, and they're going to add a 5th one, I think, in Spain, and they're going to be adding these near Earth object surveillance stations all over the planet soon, and so it's going to take maybe 25, 30 years. But nothing that we see out there now is going to have any danger to us for at least the next 100 years. So we're in good shape to actually set something like this in place. So, but if one were to just magically appear out of nowhere, and it could do some serious damage, yes. But there is nothing out there that's going to appear out of nowhere. We would have seen it because of its size. And right now, we were looking at little ones that might be a few meters across or under a meter across. We were looking at one with our SkyTour telescopes that was literally, you could watch it moving across the screen because it was moving so fast through our field. And that was between Earth and the Moon. That was a long time ago, actually. But it was small.
Well, how about the Lemon, the A6 Lemon?
Oh, yeah, Comet Lemon. Yeah, we imaged that one. We've been imaging that one. Comet Lemon's a beautiful comet, not coming anywhere near us. Usually comets don't. And this comet has a kind of a bluish green coma around the head, the nucleus, and that's because the bluish green color is indicative of carbon atoms and these carbon compounds that are on the comet. And similarly to Comet Lemon, we have Comet Swan. Comet Lemon has this big tail. Comet Swan has a very, very slight tail. It doesn't have very much of a tail. And Comet Swan was actually quite a bit closer to us than Lemon was, but nowhere near dangerous closeness or any kind. But Swan was beautiful. We imaged a lot of that. We actually caught it just as it was passing. Yeah, I don't know if you remember the Hubble photo called the Pillars of Creation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, it was passing right past the Pillars of Creation, and we took a photograph of it right there. So we had the whole nebula with the Pillars of Creation and Comet Swan right there passing in front of it. And what's interesting is the nebula is thousands of light years behind it, and the comet is several million miles away. So I thought that was pretty cool. It really points out the scale of the universe.
Now, on the Swan, how often will that come back? My note says 752 years. That could be totally wrong.
Yeah, I don't remember the period of Comet Swan, but I do think it is a periodic comet, as you point out, and I'll be able to figure that out. I have these facts going through my head, and every now and then one will pop back out. All right, and I think that it's okay. 750 years, I believe, is the period. Maybe 795. But it's one of those two values. So that's the period of Comet Swan. Now, when we say period, we mean this is a recurring comet. What does that mean? It means it's in an orbit. Unlike 3i Atlas, unlike Comet Borisov, unlike Oumuamua, they weren't in an orbit. they're moving so fast through our solar system. Okay, 3i Atlas is on a path called a hyperbola, which is a hyperbolic orbit, meaning it's going to curve slightly as it goes by the sun. I mean, it did already. And then it's going to continue on out. It's moving so fast that the sun's gravity will only bend its path slightly as it goes past it. And that's the sun, the strongest gravitational force in our solar system. You know, so Swan is beautiful, and it'll be, like you said, I think you're right. 750, 780, 795, less than 800. But that's the years. That's what Comet Swan's period is, around there. But it'll be back. And the thing is, once they pass the sun, there will be significant changes in almost every comet, because the sun's hot and they're made of ices, okay, and mixed with rock and so forth. But comets are rich in the same compounds that our planet needed to start life. So our planet has actually had lots of cometary debris that brought the building blocks of life to it. And now the Earth makes those building blocks as well. Okay, there was a famous experiment called the Miller-Urey experiment, which they showed that lightning in the primordial atmosphere, striking that atmosphere, could make amino acids, which are building blocks of life. And comets bring them, asteroids bring them, meteorites bring them. The Murchison meteorite is a famous meteorite, and that one actually had a bunch of amino acids in it. Go figure. So the building blocks of life are out there in the universe, and that's Gary. That's why the subtext of my book, called The Populated Universe, is that life in the universe may very well be the rule and not the exception. It's because it seems like the universe is set up to make life happen and not extinguish it. Yes, it's very capable of doing that too. Okay. If you're on a star that goes supernova, well, guess what? Your planet's going to go, and so are you. Our sun will never do that. So there's a lot going on out there that's really interesting. And besides being fodder for science fiction, the facts are still just as interesting. And if you look at any of the social media, and that'd probably be why you're laughing, all about the science fiction we're seeing about this 3i Atlas problem.
Well, it's crazy. Like I said at the beginning of the show, it's the most ridiculous thing I've ever witnessed in broadcasting in my life. Yeah. I mean, I got a lot of podcasters that are really mad at me because I called them out. I call it clickbait, and they're spreading disinformation. And there's the problem. There's always a certain amount of population that believes this stuff, and that's what's scary.
Yeah, you're right. But I'll say this though about that. I think it's good for us to flex our mental muscles to try and work out how we'll actually react to the eventuality, not now, but the eventuality that we will end up having an alien life form present itself to us on this planet. I think I have a feeling they may actually be here. And that's because our history is replete with stories about it from all the way back to when we were pecking into rocks.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So I don't have a doubt that they're here. I just have a doubt that we're capable of seeing them. And there's a lot of reasons for that, mostly technical. The only thing that stands between us and them is their technology. And for them to travel here from a far distance, they have to get here quick. They can't take this and be here like with the speed of this 3i Atlas. That's slow.
Yeah, a billion years.
Yeah, months. Yeah, and guess what? The age of this object is estimated based on where it came from and based on how far we seem to think it's been traveling. We seem to say that this thing is like 7 billion years old. Our universe is 13.8 billion years old. So this thing has been traveling for just over half the age of the universe, right? That's crazy. Now, it also means that our solar system is only 4.6 billion years old. So when it left its originating place, we weren't even here yet. The sun wasn't even formed yet. So if that's the case, those aliens must be clairvoyant to be able to send a probe here.
Yeah.
and
You're
know
right.
that we were going to be here just at that time.
Yeah.
And
Hey, Mark,
Yeah.
we need to take a break. It's about 4 minutes long. And then we
Sure.
come back. I'm going to ask you a lot of stupid questions, and we can have fun with it. Then we'll talk more about the universe and
Ooh, have at it.
what is going on. So we'll be back with Mark just after this. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Walking back to Georgia, and I hope she will take me back. Nothing in my pockets, and all I own is upon my back. But she's the girl who said she loved me on that hot, dusty Macon road. And if she's still around, I'm gonna settle down without a hard, loving Georgia girl. I'm walking back to Georgia. She's the only one who knows how it feels when you lose a dream and how it feels when you dream alone. But she's the girl who said she loved me on that hot, dusty Macon road. And if she's still around, I'm gonna settle down without a hard, loving Georgia girl.
Diving into the headlines of the mysterious and unexplained, this is The Unseen News with Guy Ticker, where the extraordinary is just the beginning. Woman claims to have encountered and photographed Bigfoot on tribal land in Arizona. Reportedly taken on Navajo Nation land, a photograph alleged to be Bigfoot was captured at the end of a small canyon in Arizona. The photo was recently revealed to the Rocky Mountain Sasquatch Organization. Someone else who reported seeing Bigfoot in Arizona wrote in, quote, I stood and watched a Sasquatch for over 40 minutes in Azusa Canyon, which is in Southern California, not 20 miles as the crow flies from downtown Los Angeles. And that wraps up tonight's top news stories. This is Guy Ticker on the Night Dreams Talk Radio Network. The internet is on fire with one name, Gary Anderson. Listeners say Night Dreams Talk Radio is like the mystery of Art Bell colliding with the bravado of Rush Limbaugh. And it feels like the golden age of talk radio in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Reborn for today. UFOs, conspiracies, the unexplained. It's all here. And we're not even going to tell you about the killer bumper music from the 70s through the 90s. You'll just have to hear it for yourself. Night Dreams Talk Radio. Once you tune in, you'll never turn it off.
Except if you're my wife. She says, why are you listening to yourself? I don't know why I listen to myself. We're back with Mark. And here's one of the questions I have for you.
Sure.
Okay, all these people who claim that we have moon bases on the moon. And ETs have bases on the moon. You know, on this side of the moon and the dark side of the moon. Now, with all the stargazers like you looking at the moon, and let's face it, you can get into craters. Have you seen an alien walking on the moon?
You know, no. In fact, I did a Netflix show some years ago, and it was purporting to be about aliens that were on the moon. And my job on that show was to actually analyze a bunch of lunar images. And all the lunar images they gave me, intriguing, yes, but not at all convincing. And as a matter of fact, I could tell what they were looking at and was able to explain what they were seeing. And I was disappointed too. I was hoping that, hey, there might be something on there, the moon, that we don't know about. However, you got to understand, every square inch of that moon has been covered by the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter. That is a little tiny package, a satellite that's orbiting the moon, taking swath after swath for years and years of the moon and sending back such detailed images that you can actually see the tracks left by the astronauts and their rovers on the moon at all the Apollo landing sites. And this may be disappointing to some folks, but yes, we went to the moon, and there's no equivocation, and it's easy to prove. I lived through it. I remember it very distinctly, and I can also find on the moon the places where the lunar module, after it brought the astronauts back from the moon, was discarded. I found the places on the moon where that crashed and left a scar on the lunar landscape with debris. Okay, so yeah, we went to the moon, and just because we don't have the technology to do that now doesn't mean we never did. It just means that space race with Russia, which is what it was, okay, is done and was done. So we started going to orbital technology, space shuttle technology, telescopes in orbit, and space station in orbit. That's the thing that we went to. We're getting back to the moon, though, and we're using new technology that won't actually kill us or potentially kill us, all right? So it's the most dangerous job on the planet, of course, is to work in outer space. How's that? All right. But I've never seen any evidence in all the lunar reconnaissance orbiter imagery or anything. The moon is a stark landscape. There's interesting features that are traced to geology and so forth, but there's no evidence of any otherworldly creatures there. And I know that's hard for a lot of people to hear because they'd like to believe there is, but the moon's a ball and it's lit up. Half of it's lit up at any one time. It's just we can't see the lit up side sometimes, like when it's a crescent and just coming up. Well, the other side of it's lit up full, from some vantage point, it's a full moon. So there's always light on the moon in some cases, except in the extreme South Pole regions where light doesn't get to the bottom of the craters. So, no, I haven't seen anything interesting that would indicate life on the moon or whatever. I do admit that it's kind of interesting that our planet, at its particular size, is the only one that has a moon of that particular proportional size to our planet. That's interesting.
Well, some people claim that the moon was brought here.
Yeah.
But then if you read some of it, then it says actually the moon could have broke off from Earth when the Earth was being formed. What's your gut take on it?
Yeah, okay, as an astronomer, here's how we handle that. We look at the composition. What's the moon made of? And we say it's the same green cheese as here. Okay, as the Earth's green cheese and the moon's green cheese composition are pretty much the same. Now, that's pretty interesting. It means that there's a reason why the moon and the Earth are so similar in that regard. And that reason is because maybe, and again, we weren't there to see it, it's a theory, maybe a Mars-sized planetoid struck the early Earth while it was a molten ball and blew off a giant chunk. And for a while, we had a ring of material around our planet. And that ring coalesced into blobs. Those blobs coalesced into bigger blobs. And over time, those blobs crashed into the biggest blob because it had the most gravity, and then formed the moon that we see. And as time went on, that object was actually much closer to the Earth. Our day was 4 hours long once. Can you believe that?
Wow.
4 hours, yeah. And then as the moon spiraled away slowly, which it's still doing to this day, by about 3 centimeters a year, I know, that little amount, as the moon spiraled away, it was robbing just a little bit of our rotational speed as it did so. And that robbing led to a longer day. So our rotation started to slow down. So we went from 4 hours to now where we are now at roughly 24 hours. Now, eventually, in the distant future, far beyond the life of the sun. Okay, the Earth and the Moon will be locked together, not physically, but the same face of the Moon will face the Earth like it does now, but the same face of the Earth will rotate with it, and they'll rotate together. So certain unlucky people on one side of the Earth will always have a full moon.
Well, can I ask you a question? You remember the TV show, it was out of the UK, Space 1999?
Yes, Martin Landau and Barbara Bain.
Yeah, was
That's
there
right.
a huge asteroid hit the moon? Could it
Well,
knock
that was okay. Could it knock it? Is the question you're asking?
Well, if it got hit by a big enough asteroid, could it knock it out of its orbit and it could start drifting off?
I don't think it would make it drift off. I think you could change it from the roughly circular orbit it has. It's not quite circular. I think if it was big enough, if it got hit by something the size of, say, Ceres, the dwarf planet in the asteroid belt, if that, the largest asteroid, hit us, the largest dwarf planet hit us, hit the moon, it's possible that could change the orbit of the moon. But it depends on the impact speed, and it depends on the direction it's coming from. If it hits it along its orbit, it'll make it go faster, and that would mean that it would make it into a very elliptical orbit around the Earth. So the moon would get gigantic and then small as it orbits the Earth. Sometimes close, sometimes farther away. That would change the tides. That would change a lot of things. But right now, I guess the only way for that to happen is to go into a simulation program, which I have a few, and I could actually create that very thing and have the solar system and hit the moon with something the size of Ceres and watch the ensuing millions of years what happens after. And that kind of thing is actually very, very enlightening to see how not just the Earth and moon change, but how that affects the orbits of other planets too. The stability in the inner solar system would change dramatically from such an impact, because that will change the way the Earth's moving. That Earth's moving slightly differently will change how Venus reacts. It'll change how Mercury reacts to Venus. And next thing you know, we've got a mess in the inner solar system. So we've had billions of years to stabilize in our solar system. So a big asteroid impact on the moon could spell quite a bit of change in our solar system.
Now, let's pretend that for some reason the moon drifted off.
Okay.
What would happen to Earth?
All right, let's suppose the moon goes away.
Yeah.
We wake up tomorrow and the moon's gone. Right? So
no Friday and Saturday late nights out up on the mountain staring at the moon, guys.
Exactly. The people up there in the mountain are seeing nothing but stars. Okay, well, the first thing you'll notice is that the sky is a lot more beautiful because the moon is no longer lighting it up when it's there. If it's not there anymore. The second thing we'll notice right away is that there'll be a lot of changes with our weather, and it'll be slow. It's not going to be immediate. The immediate thing that'll happen is the tides will change. We'll see the tides suddenly drop to basically half of their previous strength. All right. So the Bay of Fundy, where the tides could be 30 feet deep, may drop now only about 15 feet because we lost the moon, which was influencing the tides there. And that's just a little effect. You're going to have all these long-term effects with the fact that the Earth's rotation rate is going to change. You're not going to have the moon slowing it down anymore. So that's going to change how things happen on Earth. It's going to change the evolution of the atmosphere, how the atmosphere changes, how the currents change. The moon influences a great many things on our planet, even though it's 240,000 miles away, and people think it's a lot closer than it really is. If you did a scale model, I did this. I used to do scale models to show people if the Earth's the size of a softball, okay, the moon is going to be, 20 feet away, and it's going to be only about the size of a jawbreaker, a little bit smaller than about an inch in size. an inch and a half. So we're talking a great distance relatively, but the gravity is enough to cause these tides. And we got to remember, why would the tides be cut in half? Well, because the moon is only responsible for about half of the strength of the tides. The other half is due to the sun. The sun causes tides too. So even if the moon vanished, we'd still have tides. We'd still have the tides. It would be the sun causing it, though, and it would be about half the strength.
Now, you mentioned the sun. Here's another thing. People are worried about kill shots from the sun, getting, hit by a solar storm or whatever. Again, what could happen to Earth if we got really hit with something major?
Well, let's think about that. Okay, first of all, what would hit us? Okay, what would hit us is plasma that has been ejected from the sun. That's called a coronal mass ejection, CME. Okay, and those ejections occur fairly commonly when the sun is at high activity, and we're just coming out of the peak of activity. But still, CMEs are occurring as we speak. There's one that just was captured as the comet passed behind the sun. So what happens now when that stuff streams to the Earth is as long as that stuff is facing the Earth, we'll get struck. Now, what is that stuff? It's protons and electrons in the outer atmosphere of the sun that are very, very fast moving. They're not moving at the speed of light. They're actual physical material moving. It'll take it a few days to get here. And when it gets here, it's highly charged material. And we have a Earth that is full of electric currents. So what happens is, as it comes to the Earth, it goes into the magnetic field, and it interacts with the magnetic field and starts spiraling around the poles as it goes down toward the Earth. And as it spirals down toward the Earth, that's when we see these beautiful lights called the northern lights in the North Pole, and at the South Pole we see the southern lights, Aurora Borealis up north, Aurora Australis down south. And those colors are just beautiful. But they signal a massive clump of charged particles from the sun striking our planet. So at the very least, we get pretty pictures. But how could it hurt us? And that's what's important to talk about. First of all, we have over 6,000 satellites in orbit that are active, and there's nothing to protect them. And so they call it the space environment. The space environment is subject to these coronal mass ejections, and these CMEs can blow out satellites and destroy satellites. So we have to be very careful. You also know that we have Starlink satellites up there, and they give internet to people all over the place.
Yeah, a bunch of them were just taken out here recently.
That's correct. I was going to say that. You're exactly right. So you're right. See, that's what I love about you. You there's nothing that gets past you. I love that. That's really cool. So yeah, but you're right. And so the satellite environment was affected negatively by these coronal mass ejections. And what happens when those things strike the Earth's atmosphere puffs up a little bit. And when it puffs up, those extra molecules are hitting the low orbiting objects like the International Space Station. Oh, so now that means that the International Space Station is subjected to some drag when it hits it and starts to slow it down. It starts to drop in its orbit a little bit, and they have to boost it back up. And if they don't, it'll re-enter the Earth's atmosphere at some point. Not right away, but over a period of a couple of years, it'll end up decaying in its orbit and finally crash to Earth. So we have to be careful. So it affects everything in orbit. It affects our satellites. It affects our space stations. It affects our power grid most specifically, because in all of our infinite wisdom as humans, we made our power grid these wires up on top of poles that are totally out in the air, out in the open, subject to any electrical interference that comes along.
Yeah, but we could fix that for $6 billion.
Yeah, we could.
Yeah, but we don't
go
do
underground.
That. We don't do that.
Yeah, we could go underground with all these wires, but have you seen some of the places in the world where if you look in some places in India, It is literally a rat's nest on every single street corner of wires, and more wires. They have all kinds of problems with that electrical grid. It's a surface grid. It needs to be underground and shielded.
Just think of a major hit on those wires.
Yes.
Okay. And what I read in research, that it could actually cause houses to catch fire.
Oh, yeah. And the reason for that, as you already know, is that when you have a surge of current going through the existing power grid, well, what's to stop it from going down into your fuse box in your house? And what's to stop it if it overwhelms your breaker box in your house? I mean, it could start fires. That's exactly right. And it has to be pretty strong. It would have to be on the order of something probably stronger than a Carrington event, which was, that event that had a surge of coronal mass particles that hit our planet. A Carrington event would be disastrous for us, especially because the satellite environment would be hard hit. We'd lose our cell phone coverage. The cell phone towers would go down, no doubt. Satellite coverage would be down for some period of time. Internet would not be up for quite a while.
What am I going to do with no internet?
You just can't surf on your phone.
Hey, Mark,
you can't.
Mark, we got a caller in.
Yeah.
Let's take the call real quick.
Sure.
Okay, who do we have?
We got AC here.
Well, AC, are you turned up high or low?
Oh, I'm turned up high.
Okay. What's your question for Mark?
Yeah. Well, it's a very interesting. I don't believe that there's anything in these things except bacteria or whatever floating through space. But the interest for me is, what do you think about the fabric of these UFOs made out of? Are they made out of these materials from that? You think they're getting it from these kind of rocks or meteors and using them to make spacecrafts? Some spacecrafts look like a meteor, and yet they're more definition like a craft looking. And seen a lot of them here, and so I see that some can look like ours, conventional, and some that look like they come from way back in the past. So my question would be, again, what do you think about the material that they're using? That's my interest, to see if they're using raw materials from these objects. And I'll take it off the air. Thank you.
Thank you, Art.
That's actually a really good question. I'll tell you why it's a good question, because we don't know what the metallurgy would be of these objects. We do know that what people reported seeing here is smooth metallic looking surfaces that act a little strange, no seams, okay, things like that. And that would be an advanced metallurgy. Now, I had the fortunate opportunity to look at and study some rumored materials from a UFO crash. And it had just come out of an MIT lab, and we were looking at these materials, and I was looking at them and thinking, these look like ordinary metals to me, but that belies what's inside these metals. What was inside these metals was different isotope structures that could not occur on Earth and could not be manufactured on Earth. That made it otherworldly. Yet it was a manufactured piece, but it couldn't be manufactured on Earth. So there was the dilemma. So it looked like metal to the caller, and however, it didn't have the structure, the internal atomic structure that we would expect for those same metals. So these different isotopes had potentially different properties, and although it might look like metal, it didn't have the same properties as our normal metals. Now, could they use rocks? There's no specific reason to have any particular shape of a craft in space. I mean, when we saw Star Trek with the Borg cube, that could move at huge amount of speed. That's fine, but don't go into the atmosphere with it, okay? Because the wind resistance would tear it apart. So in space, you don't care about your shape. You really don't. Okay, so could they use rocks? I guess they could. I mean, what was it This Island Earth, where the aliens were dropping asteroids guided by spacecraft onto a planet to destroy it? I forget what that. I thought it was This Island Earth. Well, anyway, that said, I don't know. I mean, is it possible? I guess, but is it happening with 3i Atlas? Probably not. And the reason I say that is because of for all its speed, it's moving quite slow for an alien craft. Although I will say, I really like how this craft has come in. It's past Mars, went around the sun, past Venus, and on its way out, it's going to pass by Jupiter. So if you were an alien race and knew about our solar system, might you just pass by some of the main planets in our solar system? And the answer is yes, you would. Now, I still say that the likelihood on 0 to 10 with 10 being fully alien, I still say this object is a 2 for me. Okay, so I believe it's a comet. It's giving off all these materials now on its surface and showing emission that is actually right down the line, much of what we see with comets. There's some differences, but there's still much in the line that's with comets.
Yeah,
so,
but with the Atlas, before, you have the tail, which actually was not, and behind it, it was in front of it, basically. But now, after it's gone behind the sun and it's coming out, it has a tail like a normal tail, large. Yeah. But again, like I said at the beginning of the show, the comet Atlas is actually getting smaller, which is normal for a comet to do because it's gassing off. And now, it's gassing off liquid, water, CO2 and all that. It tells you that it can't be an alien craft.
Yeah. Now, as far as the comet having a tail in front of it, guess what? That's common.
I didn't know that.
I have photographs like Tsusen Atlas, which was another comet from a year ago or so. It had what we call an antitail. Now, what is that? The antitail, the comet has a dust tail that lags behind it millions of miles. It leaves dust behind in its orbit as it makes its way toward the sun, which, by the way, is a long, curving path. So, you can imagine, at some point or another, if you're looking out into space at that curving path coming towards you, that the distant tail, where it was millions of miles ago, might appear to be in front of the comet from your perspective. And that's what we're looking at. It's a perspective illusion called the antitail. And so when we see the antitail, we did see an antitail on Comet 3i Atlas. And that's another reason why it actually became more comet than spaceship for me at that point. The nickel, remember the nickel atoms, Gary? That was shooting nickel. Yeah. Well, that nickel atoms were coming off, and then we later saw iron, but we didn't see any iron up front, and that was pretty perplexing. They didn't really understand what it was.
Well, I think, Mark, that's what got a lot of people thinking it was an alien craft because they saw nickel. Normally on a comet, you would see iron given off because it was given off nickel. So that's where people started thinking, well, we make our aircraft with nickel. We use it on, our spacecraft and all that. So it had to be an alien craft.
Yeah, but there's one thing, though, that people need to understand, and that is with all comets, we don't see nickel or iron or just one or the other. We see a nickel/iron ratio. And with Atlas, with 3i Atlas, we didn't see, we saw a lot more nickel than iron initially. So that's like, wow, what's going on here? Yeah, I get it. But then later, we started to see more iron. And that nickel to iron ratio started to show up a little better looking. The reason, as it looks now, the nickel, well, first of all, this object has a lot of carbon dioxide ice on it. And that means a lot of carbon monoxide ice, a lot of other ice, water ice. Okay, why so much? We don't know. That was an exceptional amount of carbon dioxide ice on this object that we saw. But from where it came from, the galactic disk, okay, it's possible that it picked up a lot of carbon dioxide in its travels. After all, the rumor so far, it looks like it's about 7 billion years old, as I talked about. That's a long age. So as this thing came in, it's possible that the nickel atoms that were bound up in the surface ices were tied to carbon monoxide groups. Carbon monoxide is a carbon atom with an oxygen atom. CO, monoxide, carbon monoxide. And there were 4 of those on a nickel atom. And you had this nickel carbonyl, it was called. And at 100 degrees Fahrenheit, that vaporizes. And those ices sublimate, and the nickel atoms are released. Now, where's the iron? Well, the iron was also bound up with these carbon monoxide groups, but it had 5 of them. So it was an iron pentacarbonyl, penta being 5. Okay, and so at 200 degrees Fahrenheit, the iron carbonyl, that iron pentacarbonyl, vaporizes, and thus the later appearance of iron would make sense if there was nickel and iron carbonyl variations on that comet. And so that is explainable through chemical composition analysis. But you know what? The early findings of nickel were perplexing. I don't take that away from it. This is a very strange comet. All right?
It is.
It is nothing like we've ever seen before. I won't take that away from it at all.
You know, again, think about this technology-wise. I mean, like I said this last week on the show, how long does a cell phone last before it breaks down? You buy a TV, how long does it take to break down? Could you think alien technology is 7 billion years old before we even existed? Would be surviving now? I don't.
I don't either. And in fact, you know, I saw one theory, which, you know, we can't say it's not true, that maybe this was an alien spacecraft. Maybe there's one at the heart of this comet. But because it's been drifting for so long out in the galactic disk, it acquired a bunch of debris over the top of it and ice and so forth and became a comet. So technically, the only way we'd ever know that is if we could see the nucleus. And the only way to see the nucleus is to do like we did to the comet Churyumov-Gerasimenko, which was to land a probe on it and to send a probe out there. You may remember the Rosetta mission. Rosetta showed us beautiful images for the first time in high definition of a surface of a comet. It looked like a warped kidney, okay? And it had unbelievable structure on it. It was gorgeous. And that was the first time we actually saw a comet up close, and we tried to land a probe on it, and that kind of failed, but it gave a couple of shots that were worth something. But that's what we'd have to do. We'd have to get out to this thing and land something on it. Unfortunately, in the time since we first discovered it, there was literally no time for us to turn around the mission and get it out to this comet.
You're right. Now we got another caller. Who do we have out there?
We have Jody.
Hi, Jody. How are you doing, and where are you calling from?
Hey, Gary. I'm calling from Hocking Hills, Ohio, my new adjustment of status in America.
Oh, well, yeah.
So, I know. I'm watching the skies here from America instead of Saskatchewan, and I don't know. There's a whole lot of weird stuff going on in this area. So, but there's not a lot of talk in American news about the 3AI Atlas or anywhere. It's kind of weird.
Well, you know, go on to TikTok, Jody. All you have to do...
but how come it's not on your mainstream news? Like, there's no science going on in, anywhere. Nobody knows what's going on outside in the universe.
Mark,
I can help you with that, Jody. I kind of... Unfortunately, Jody, and this is the truth of the matter, we're in a government shutdown, and NASA is shut down right now. And you have no idea. You have no idea how angry I am, okay? Because we're missing science opportunities.
Yeah, but you can see other stuff like the solar. There's other countries that have stuff going on, and they can see things, but they're not reporting it. That's what I find strange. I'm like,
No,
I'm like a little person sitting on a deck in Ohio, and I know more than the most Americans. It's really strange.
Yeah,
you know,
they are reporting it. It's just that the other problem we had was that for the last several weeks, the object was behind the sun from our point of view, and the only telescopes that could see it were spaceborne scopes like the SOHO telescope and so forth, and so they did image it, and all they saw was fuzzy blob. I mean, and that's kind of what we expected to see. And right now it's still just a fuzzy blob. It hasn't broken apart such that we can actually see separate components or anything like that, like Shoemaker-Levy, which hit Jupiter. I mean, when it hit Jupiter, it made these massive explosion scars on Jupiter that lasted for a week or so. It was just beautiful. I watched it live with my telescopes. I literally watched it happen. It's like, wow, look at that.
So
it was incredible.
Did you see the tail? Sorry to interrupt you, but I hear things and TikTok and all this AI shit news coming out, and nobody really knows what's going on. Right? There's so much cognitive dissonance going on right now. It's really hard to wean through shit. So I'm like a little person sitting here wondering, like, you know, they said the tail was going one way, you know, it goes away from the sun, and then it like did a little U-turn, and now it's going a different way. Is this stuff real, or are they, you know, are they trying to set us up into like all this news to just keep us hooked on?
Hey, Jody, I got an answer.
That's what I really want. That's what I really want to know.
Okay, well, I'm going to give you my answer, and Mark can give you his answer. Here's my answer.
I know. It's blowing fucking shit out of all of our asses.
I have a little different answer. I have a little different answer than that, Jody. And the answer is that the tail being in these different positions was real. But it was a perspective illusion based on where the comet was in the sky. It has a curving path, and we started to see its tail apparently in front of it at one point. And that's not, we're looking at the far distant tail behind it in the far distance.
I understand.
All right.
Sorry.
Oh, then, no, that's all right. So it was called the anti-tail, and that's something that most comets, or some comets, will show. Last year, we photographed Susan Atlas with our remote telescopes at SkyTour LiveStream, and we caught the anti-tail very prominently. And that was the distant dust tail that was, you know, way out in space, and we're looking at the curved path of the comet. And it leaves the dust tail behind, and we can actually see it apparently being in front of the comet. It wasn't. It was millions of miles behind it, you know. So, but some of the stuff is baloney.
Go by, and we saw how a comet, you know, reacts and does all the stuff. And, you know, you have the data, and things are pretty particular in the way that they work. Why, you know, why is Avi and everybody like, oh, this is so different? Like, are we trying to, like, build up this data thing where, like, why did it turn blue, and why didn't the sun drag it into it, and, you know, like, why is it such a big deal right now for whatever reason that it is? That's what I wonder.
The reason is simple, actually, and I hate to say it this way, but the chances of an object coming into our solar system and going past Mars, Venus, and Jupiter, three of the main planets in our solar system, the chances are like 0.005% that an object would do that. So that is what piqued the curiosity of people like Avi and other people, including myself. I was curious about it. So as it turns out, though, even though the chances are 0.005%, it doesn't mean that it isn't possibly just a coincidence. And in this particular case, it appears that this is just a coincidence, odd as it is to say, you know, but a good one, a really good one.
A good one.
One that sparked a lot of discussion.
A very good one for science.
Okay,
a very good one for science, because if American government can start pumping more money into, we have no clue what's going on in our ocean and our skies, and they're spending money on all this stuff that's just not.
You're right, Jody. You're absolutely right.
Beneficial for our mind and our everything else that's going on. You know, and I'm just making my play. I'm making my ply for the astronomy science community right now.
Awesome.
We need more funding to figure out what the heck is out there.
We do,
We
Jody.
really
And
do.
Jody, I gotta
We really
let you.
do.
I gotta let you go. And hey, thank you, kid, for calling
Thank
in.
you so much, Gary Bear.
Okay.
I love you.
I love you too. Okay.
Talk to you next month. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye. So anyway, yeah, she has some good questions.
She did, yeah. Very good questions. And, I just, like I said, everything that's reported on social media is exaggerated tenfold. I mean, at one point, this thing was portrayed with a headline that said, "Latest image of 3i Atlas," and it showed the Doomsday Machine from the Star Trek episode called the Doomsday Machine. It was a cone, like it looked like an oversized bugle snack. Okay, they used to get the bugle snacks, and it was a planet-killing thing in this episode of Star Trek. And they stretched it and said, "This is it." And some people actually believe that. And it's like, that just made me crazy. And that's why in the 3i Atlas Facebook group, I'm listed as an all-star contributor, because I've been just hitting them with factual data.
But a lot of people, Mark, they don't want to hear the truth. And that's what I do a blog. I put it up on X and Blue and on my, Facebook account and, on my website. People don't want to hear the truth. They want to hear the doomsday that hey, we're going to be attacked by aliens that are 7 billion years old and have a beard that's like 5 miles long. I don't know. Yes. They want us to be invaded. They can. I mean, what else could it be?
I just want the aliens to take them.
No, I want the aliens to come down and land in Washington D.C. and take all the congressmen and senators and everybody else.
It's going to be great. Going to be great.
Yeah, but I say this a lot on the show. I do hear aliens eat brains, and if they take the politicians, they'll be starved to death. Like War of the Worlds, they'll be gone.
That's good. Yeah, that's funny.
So we're not going to be invaded by aliens after all, are we?
Yeah, no, I suspect not. I have a feeling that if there's alien life out there in the universe, which I'm pretty sure there is, and if they're here, which I'm pretty sure they are,
well, you need those special sunglasses, Mark, that you can put on and see the aliens walking around.
Oh, excellent movie with Roddy Piper. Oh, that was an excellent movie. They Live.
Yeah.
Now your audience is going to go out and watch They Live. That's a great movie.
Yeah, go down to, the Dollar Tree and get yourself some sunglasses and walk around. See what you see.
I know. That's a great idea.
Now, one thing I do want to mention to you real quick. We had back in October a very close flyby that went over Antarctica. It was like 266 miles above the Earth's surface. But it was very small, so it was not a large threat to the Earth. But what happens if one comes bigger that we don't expect and does a close flyby?
Well, we have that happen all the time, Gary. We're always getting hit by space debris. We get millions of tons a year of stuff hitting the Earth. And every now and then you get reports of this large boom sound that was heard in England, and a large boom was also heard in Newfoundland. And you calculate where that was, and it shows you that you missed a giant meteor that came into the Earth's atmosphere and exploded. And that explosion is what was heard in Newfoundland and what was heard in England. See, so we have lots of this happening, lots of these impacts happening quite a bit. And if you ever want to go hunting for meteors, go to Antarctica, because anything that you see that's dark on the top of the ice is a meteor. All right, because that's the only place you're going to have the rock is either deep under the ice at the base of the rock strata, or on the surface of the ice. So hunting for meteors by going over Antarctica is a great idea. They can find all kinds of meteors that way, and they stand out like a sore thumb because they're like little black dots on the ice.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now, how can people support what you do?
Oh yeah, thank you, Gary. That's a really good thing. I forget until you say things, so thank you. Well, as most people know, we have remote observatories around the country, and we are a nonprofit, and none of us take a salary for what we do. This is all free. And what we do is at SkyTourLive.org. Okay, that's SkyTourLive.org, all one, SkyTourLive.org. We have a site there that shows you everything we've done. You can download our latest stream imagery that we take. We've had over 550 multi-hour streams on YouTube on our channel, which is SkyTour LiveStream with Marc D'Antonio. And, thanks to our CFO, Marianne Robb, and Tara Diulis, who was in the organization with us, the three of us have done this out of the passion to bring astronomy to every home in the world. And we do it for free. I've taught a class in Bangkok from right where I'm sitting now, and at a school there. And I did it remotely because 9 in the morning there is 9 p.m. here. And I was able to teach a class on stars and stuff for them. So we bring astronomy to the world. We bring you the universe live in real time. We cover live events, and people can join us. We have T-shirts. I believe Pluto's a planet, by the way. I actually knew Clyde Tombaugh, who found Pluto. I sat with him at a conference once on a grassy knoll in Vermont, and we talked for an hour about Pluto.
How big is Pluto?
Oh, Pluto is, the diameter. I knew you were going to ask me that. It's going to be, if I recall, Pluto is, let's see, Pluto, oh man, it's a couple thousand miles across. And so I'll be able to tell you in a sec, I think. It's about maybe 1,500 miles or so.
Now, didn't they classify Pluto at one time as a moon?
It was classified as a planet, and it has like 5 moons of its own. Now, it's become a dwarf planet now. Okay, they reclassified it, and they made it so now it's on the same level as the asteroid. They used to be the asteroid Ceres and Vesta. Those have been renamed as dwarf planets as well. So at a certain size and below, they call you a dwarf planet. And so Pluto is now a dwarf planet, even though it is in its own orbit, and even though it has several moons of its own. And I believe it's a planet. So we have this T-shirt, okay, it has our SkyTour LiveStream logo on the front, and on the back it says, "I need my space," and it shows all 9 planets, including Pluto. That's my protest. Wow. It's pretty cool. Yeah, so SkyTourLive.org and SkyTour LiveStream on YouTube. SkyTourLive.org is our portal. You can get there. You can donate to us. We have a Patreon. We have an Etsy store. You can, all the amazing photographs we take, we put on products, and none of it goes to me. It all goes to further our nonprofit and to allow us to do this. And it goes nowhere else but into equipment and facilities. We have Starlink at all our sites. So that's $120 a month at each site. We have a lease payment of $400 a month on one of our buildings that we pay. And so far the Patreon is covering that, but we need more because we want to get more data. We've got a small grant from a Styrian Foundation, which is great. And now we're going to add spectrographic capabilities. So what we'll be able to do is look at guys like 3i Atlas and look at the spectrum and see for ourselves what's in it. And we'll be able to see that nickel. We'll be able to see that carbon monoxide. We'll be able to see that carbon dioxide in it. And we'll be able to see the composition ourselves and actually show this live to people. This is the cool thing. It's live astronomy. The universe is very dynamic, and I just love showing people how dynamic it is,
Yeah, we need to know what the universe is. And what you do, there's another guy on TikTok, he goes on that does, the moon, and of course, after a while, looking at crater after crater, it gets kind of boring. I rather see the stars and, the other planets and stuff like that.
Well, yeah, and you see the nebulae, you see places where we were born, these dark dust clouds that we image. It's in the dark where life began. You know, as I always say, life began in the dark. In that dark, cold, forbidding location, that's where it all began. You know, and that's where life begins, from the primordial soup of life that is in those dark clouds. And we image those, and we give those photos away for free. When people come on our site, they can go down, scroll down, say, I want cool pictures, and they can look at 4 years worth of pictures we've taken and download whatever they like. You know,
Wow.
If they want better ones, they can join our Patreon and get some highly processed ones if they want. If they want them on products, they can buy them at our Etsy store, you know, or they can do it themselves. So, yeah, it's neat stuff, you know. And as you know, I've told you this before, I knew I was going to be an astronomer at age 9, right? Age 9, you know, and so it just never wavered. And I went into oceanography briefly, and then I decided I'm going to go into astronomy. Inner space gave way to outer space.
It's very interesting. I'm glad you did, because, you know, you educate people and you do it in a way that they understand. And that is what's important.
Yeah, I guess if you say everybody has their superpower, right? You manage your blowtorch of a radio station there, okay? And you send out to, you know, hundreds of thousands, millions of people, okay? All the messages of all your shows, okay? I love being on your show for that reason, because you are just such a cool guy to hang out with. And I don't think people realize what a cool guy you are, you know? They just hear your radio voice. They don't hear all the other things you say, which are kind of cool. You know, one of these days you're going to have to just take off all the blinders and let everybody hear all the fun things you say.
Oh, God, I'll be in jail. But again, don't hang up at the end of the show, because I want to talk to you. So I'm going to mute you. And again, before I do that, your website for people, again, go ahead.
Sure, it's a SkyTourLive.org, and that's SkyTour live.org. That's our portal, and then SkyTour Livestream on YouTube. You can get to the YouTube site from SkyTourLive.org. That's a portal to everything we do.
And I recommend, again, too, to make a donation, because I tell you what, I think he has now 3 telescopes, and maybe down the road, maybe they'll get more. And that is going to be so exciting, because we're learning more about space. You know, if you remember old Star Trek, you know, like, again, we're learning more about our environment, not on our planet, but out there. So anyway, I want to thank everybody that is tuned in tonight. And who did we have on chat here tonight, JC?
Well, we've got Barb, we've got Jody, we got Rory. Art's out there tonight. We had some other new people, like Knight Rider was out there. We got Buzz Your Spirits. Let's see who else.
Some entertainment company too was on there.
Yeah, there was an entertainment company. There was a lot of them, and of course, that's just the ones we can see. There's a lot of others out there. So thank you all for being in chat. Much appreciated.
And thank you to the 2 callers tonight too. I didn't even expect really any callers tonight, and I do appreciate you calling in. Now, who do we have next Friday?
Well, let's just look that up. Let's see. Next Friday, we have. Could that be true? Well, actually, we got 2 shows next week. Actually, we have a Thursday show with Mr. Daryl Denton, very well known in the Bigfoot Dogman field, and then next Friday we have Brian Corey Dobbs coming on, and you want to talk about structures on Mars. He's got the evidence to back it up. He made a documentary, and he's been a big-time researcher of it, so that's going to be pretty fascinating. You don't want to miss that one.
So you'll find us on your apps on Thursday, and then Friday you'll find us here right on YouTube. Again, tell your friends about us, and, make sure you hit the thumbs up and hit the comments and tell us what you think about the show. Everybody have a good one. And now a little bit of commercials, and then I'm going to say goodnight.
Time slips. A haunted office building on a haunted street. A haunted coal town. Mysterious black cats. Unexplained light anomalies. UFOs, UAPs in the air and on the ground. Bridges in liminal spaces. Cryptids, shamans, and a werewolf. Disclosure. You don't need a ranch in Utah. All this and more happens in rural southwestern Pennsylvania. Now available on Amazon from author Kevin Paul. Politics and the Paranormal in Greene County, Pennsylvania. Read this captivating book as soon as you can by author Kevin Paul. Available now. Bigfoot Origins, The Search for the Cryptid Homeland by Mike Dupler. This is the most comprehensive and in-depth examination of Bigfoot ever written. How did Bigfoot in North America, the Yowie in Australia, and the Woodwoes, Britain's Bigfoot, get to where they are today? Mike Dupler connects the dots, and the conclusions are incredible. This changes everything. Don't be left out in the woods, in the cold, not knowing. Read Bigfoot Origins, The Search for the Cryptid Homeland by Mike Dupler. Available now on Amazon.
Who's friends with all the night dreamers talking to you at night? Gary on the radio, but maybe he's not in sight. Bigfoot's on his tail, flying UFOs, that's right. Gary's talk show radio, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday nights. If you need a friend to talk to, he will always be there. The night